This is not retribution. It's a reawakening.
Saw X is the 10th movie in the Saw franchise, and it is a pretty great film. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I went into this movie with low expectations, considering how the last 3 Saw movies were pretty hit or miss, depending on who you talk to. Now, I may do a video about the whole Saw franchise at a later date, but for this review, I'm just going to be talking about this movie instead of each movie, because like the Equalizer 3 review and the A Haunting in Venice review, I would give a quick thoughts on the previous couple of films. But there is 10 movies now. I can't give my thoughts on every single one of them in just this small video. But I will just tell you my thoughts on this film as they are.
I still have a lot of work that needs to be done.
Tobin Bell returns to the role of John Kramer, better known as the Jigsaw Killer. And this movie takes place between Saw 1 and Saw 2. So instead of doing this movie actually has 2 timelines where one takes place in modern day and one takes place in the past, or vice versa and so forth. Instead of that, this movie is straightforward. This takes place between Saw 1 and Saw 2, and it is after he has got his diagnosis, and he has been through a lot of chemotherapy, radiation, trying to get rid of the cancer. This movie is a lot more personal than the previous few films. This movie focuses on John more than ever before. While the franchise as a whole had John Kramer at the center, this particular movie focuses in and shows him to be more sympathetic, and there is a point in this movie where you think he might actually move on and be a better person. However, because this is kind of a prequel, we know that isn't meant to be.
I wage war. I wage war against mediocrity.
John Kramer is scammed into believing that he is able to be potentially cured by this woman and her team of experts. However, it turns out to be a scam, and as it unfolds, John goes back to his original ways.
Hello, everyone. It's time to play a game.
Now, what I really admired about this movie is that it took its time to build up to the traps. For the first half an hour, maybe a bit more, 40-50 minutes, it is essentially John Kramer living his life. And I really love that. Instead of showing him, he's doing his thing, he's doing the traps and all that. No, in this, he is getting his diagnosis, his brain scanned. He's hanging out with other patients at a support center. He's doing so much as a person would be doing. He's not just being the Jigsaw Killer and putting people in traps. There is a moment towards the beginning of the film where he visualizes a trap. However, it fakes us out, and it's actually quite clever, because if you really think about it, that's just all in his head. The majority of the opening is essentially just John Kramer. It's not traps. He's not doing any schemes. He's just trying to live his life. However, when the traps hit, they fucking hit. These are potentially some of the best Saw traps we have been given in so long. I think that this gives a lot of Saw traps in the original 7 films a run for their money, and I really think there are some classics and people will love it. If you're a gore hound, you're gonna love it. Like, this movie delivers on the gore, the blood, the violence, the effects. It is pretty damn gruesome, and it is impressive.
Place a big enough piece of your cerebral tissue into the glass enzyme tank. This will save your life.
Now, It's a Saw movie, so you know there's gonna be a twist. Now, the twist isn't as impactful, but it is a fun one. It's a little fun one. It's not mind boggling, franchise shaking, changing. It's essentially just a little heart got you. But if you figured it out, it's kinda alright. Like, I didn't think it was terrible. It's definitely better than the previous couple of twists. This movie is quite heartfelt, heartwarming, and even funny at times. There is some dark humor in this movie that I really admire. It is hilarious at times. It is more funnier than Spiral, and that was done just so that it could be funny. Well, this is more funnier than your movie, Chris Rock. I'm sorry. This movie is what I think probably the best film since the original. It has a lot of great moments, and if you're a Saw fan, you are in for a treat. If you don't like Saw, it's probably not going to change your mind, but it's a lot better than the previous movies. For me, this is probably the best since the original. Probably. Like, I think Saw 1 is a really fantastic film. Saw 2, 3, they're alright. I didn't mind them. But then it just sort of stagnated. Saw 6, directed by the same guy as Saw X, he really took the reins and he really made it his own. And I had a lot of fun with Saw 6. With Saw, the final chapter, he had to direct that one, and it wasn't that particularly great, but the twist was very memorable, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I mean, a lot of people dislike it, but I like the twist in that film. However, in this film, I would say this is probably the best since the original. It's probably my second favorite Saw movie. Now, as all franchise movies, this has a mid-credit sequel. So after the initial credits, it cuts to a scene. And it's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have seen a lot of the Saw movies. I know the characters who they are, and I'm not a huge Saw fan, but I have fun with them. They're like the Fast and Furious, sort of like soap operas, except that's more action oriented. This is more horror oriented, and like the post credits, the mid credits scene is like, if you're a fan, you're gonna have a giant freak out.
Of all the men to cheat, you picked John Kramer?
But yeah, I'd say this movie is a ton of fun, and it is quite heartwarming. This movie has a lot of emotions in it, whereas the past few Saw movies, even 6 had the problem, but even back towards Saw 4, Saw 5, like, they didn't have heart. Saw 4, 5, 6, and 7 felt very episodic, like each movie tied into the last, but that just sort of made it this whole arc. Whereas Saw 1, 2, and 3, they tried to be their own standalone movie. They had connections, but they tried to be their own. This movie felt like a natural addition to Saw 1, 2, 3. This feels like a natural evolution, I would say, of the franchise. And I think this movie is pretty damn great. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think a lot of people are gonna dislike it because it's a Saw movie. But I know a lot of people are gonna really enjoy this movie. And I hope this movie makes money, because I want to see more going forth with this Saw movie. This Saw universe, particularly from Saw X onwards, because Jigsaw tried to modernize it. Jigsaw didn't hit. However, it made a lot of money. Spiral came in, and that was terrible. A lot of people hated that movie. Even I hate that movie. Thankfully, someone at Lionsgate went, we have this amazing actor, Tobin Bell, let's bring him back. So, I want to see more of him. I want to see more of Jigsaw. I want to, but however, I can't stress this enough. I would be happy if this is the last film, but I want more. I'm a selfish fan, I guess. Tobin Bell is a great actor. However, he's aged well. However, he is still 80. And if this is the last Saw film from Tobin Bell, from the franchise, I am really satisfied. This movie feels like essentially a bit of a send-off to the John Kramer character, as well as Amanda Young, because Jigsaw, John Kramer, has technically been dead since Saw 3 or 4. But in this movie, he goes off technically into the sunset. It's the most happiest ending you can get to a Saw movie. So if this is it, I'm really happy that they went out with a bang. This felt like a really great conclusion to the franchise if this is the last movie. However, if there is more, I would be happy to see more Saw movies like this. So I give Saw X 1 beer out of 10. Yeah, 1 beer out of 10. It is really damn great. I did put on a beer though, because if you're not a horror fan, this will not get you. Like, if you're not a gore fan, this will not get you. However, if you go in with that mindset, you will come out having a fun time. This movie is a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. I just want to say thank you all for watching, and as always, take care and have a good one.
Live or die. The choice is yours.